Well, hello there. We're back to do whatever it is I do here. Welcome back. I'm Dave from Chase to Summit. Okay, in this video, we're going to talk about something a little different. A few days ago on Saturday, December 4th, I ran an ultramarathon. It was a 50K or 32 miler. Took me about 8 hours because I'm not in the fastest shape of my life right now. But during that race, I also wore the Garmin Fenix 6 and I also had on the Whoop Band 4.0. If you've been around my channel at all, you may remember a while back I did a comparison video between the Garmin Fenix 6's body battery feature and the Whoop Band 4.0 and how they compare and contrast. And that video did really well, so I kind of wanted to revisit this and actually analyze a big event like an ultramarathon to see how they're recorded in these devices. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the day before the ultramarathon, the day of the race, and then the day after to see what I looked like before in terms of recovery and how fresh I was, how much damage that ultra did to me, and then the day after in terms of recovery. Along the way, we'll also look at the raw heart rate data that was recorded between these two devices during that activity, and we'll also look at some of the sleep data that was recorded during the nights before and after the event. Before we dive in though, if you find this kind of video fun or entertaining or anything, make sure you give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel down below because it really helps me out. And if you're interested in picking up either one of these devices, go check out the links in the description down below because that really helps me out as well. Before we start looking at all this data, I want to let you know that I am not a professional athlete. I'm not a sports doctor. I'm not a coach. I'm literally just a guy trying to figure out this information to see if it's valuable for my use case, if it'll help me recover. That's what I want to know. And this video is not scripted or anything. You're just kind of coming along for the journey in real time as I go through the data. I just want to talk about it, share my thoughts about it, and maybe open up some conversation in the comments down below. All right, so now we're looking at Garmin Connect on the left side of your screen, and then we've got the Whoop website on the right side of your screen. And if you don't know, the Garmin Connect website is very complicated. There's a lot of stuff here. There's like a training course builder, there's a training plan builder, workout builder. There's all of the activities that you've recorded over time. You can look at the maps, etc. There's a lot to go through in the Garmin website, but all we really care about is going to be the recovery information in body battery and also some of the sleep data. Now, in contrast, the Whoop website is very, very simple. It basically only has 3 options. You can have this overview here. You can look at your strain for the day, your recovery for the day, or your sleep information. And that's kind of it. Of course, you can go over to the side here and generate some reports if you want to get like more of a weekly or monthly view. But this is really the bread and butter of the website and kind of what people like about it. It's very simple to understand what's going on here. All right, so my race, the 32-mile ultramarathon, happened on December 4th. So we're going to go back in time and look at December 3rd to see how fresh I was leading into that race. And the reason I want to do this is to have a baseline for what kind of freshness I had leading into this event so we can see what the event did to me and then what it looked like to recover from it the next day. So here we're looking at Friday, December 3rd. On the left-hand side of your screen, you can see that there's the Garmin Connect system here that picked me waking up at 6:23 a.m. that day. And on the Whoop, you can see that I woke up at 6:20-ish. So they're pretty close in terms of what time I woke up. That's always good to see. And then throughout the day on Friday, it wasn't a crazy day for me. I had to work. I have a desk job, so I wasn't like up running around doing anything crazy. And that's reflected in my heart rate throughout the day. Pretty mellow, recorded on both platforms. I will say, for whatever reason, on the Garmin ecosystem, there's a big gap in information here. You can see from 8:26 to about 12:48, there's no information. And I think that's because I took the watch off to take a shower and then I put it back on, and maybe it took a little while for it to start to pick up information again. I don't really know, so just keep that in mind. Now, if we fast forward over to the end of the day, you could say I went to bed at 11:16 on the Garmin, and on the Whoop Band, it shows me going to bed at 11:01. So almost identical in terms of what time I went to bed, which again is good to see. Now, if I scroll down on Garmin Connect to the body battery section, again, you can see that big gap in information here. For this video, I don't think this is a big deal. So on the Garmin body battery, it shows from my previous night's sleep, I charged up to about 91%, which is pretty good. That means I was almost fully charged for the next day, which is great. And then throughout the day, I had some stress added in from work and stuff. And that, brought my body battery down to a plateau of around 41. And then into the evening here, it gets pretty interesting because this is where we feed our kids dinner. And then we actually made gingerbread houses with our kids. And, I guess that shouldn't be stressful. It shows it as being stressful here. kind of makes sense because I was kind of running around and helping kids build things with frosting, and it's a little bit crazy. There's a lot of candy canes and candy being thrown around, and yeah, maybe it was a little bit stressful. I don't know. So if we look at that same information on the Whoop band, there's not a whole lot more context. I like that on the body battery side of things, you've got these orange chunks to indicate stress, and then you've got these blue highlights to indicate that you're resting. So when you see a lot of blue here, it means I'm resting. When you see a lot of orange, it means I'm stressed out. And on the Whoop band, it doesn't really do that. It doesn't highlight stress or rest or anything like that. It just kind of shows you your overall heart rate throughout the day. Okay, so now on the Garmin, it shows that I went to bed at about 11:16 p.m. And on the Whoop band, it shows that I'm going to bed at about 10:57. So again, they're pretty similar in terms of what time I actually went to bed. Now let's move into the big day, and that would be Saturday, December 4th. That's when I ran the Ultramarathon. You can see on the Garmin, I wake up at 5:11 a.m. On the Whoop band, I wake up at 5:02 a.m., so they're pretty in line there. That's when I get ready, I get dressed, I drive to the location, and then I start the race. And this is actually pretty interesting because on my Garmin, I have to manually start the race by selecting the run activity and then hitting go. On the Whoop band, it automatically picks up the activity, and it actually shows on the Whoop band that I started the race at exactly 7:05. So it actually picked up the beginning of the race almost perfectly. On the Garmin, of course, I manually hit start, so it recorded the activity, and you can see that green line below all this elevated heart rate indicates the run. Over on the Whoop band, you can see that there's a little blue running guy above where all this elevated heart rate data is, and that indicates the activity as well. And it gave me a strain score of 20.7, which is pretty high in terms of Whoop band scores. For instance, a really hard, long marathon run would be like a 16. So 20.7 means I really got my butt kicked, and I definitely did. All right, now let's take a look at the body battery for race day. And you can see, again, I woke up, I got ready, and then I started the race, and that's where you can see that my body battery starts to decline quite rapidly. When I woke up in the morning, the high point of my body battery was only at 42. So I didn't sleep great that night. I had a lot of tossing and turning and stuff, and I think I was just anxious to start the race. And maybe that's why my body battery didn't charge up very high. So it only started at 42. Over on the Whoop band, you can see that my recovery was only at 18%. So they're both kind of telling me I'm not in great shape to go for a long run. Unfortunately, I still had to run an ultramarathon, so I did. Okay, so if we look at the body battery over on the Garmin side of things, you can see that I start the race at a body battery of about 34. Then I go the entire race, and by the end, I'm down to about 5. 5 is a very low body battery, so that means I was pretty banged up, pretty tired by the end of that race. Okay, now let's take a look at some of the data from the actual event. Like I said before, the Garmin is a full-blown GPS watch, so it does record your GPS activity, your cadence, your stride length, your heart rate data, all of that stuff. So there's a lot of data you can go through, and if I scroll down, you can see all these graphs and elevation graphs and pace graphs and all this information. The Whoop band doesn't do any of this. It just records your heart rate data, the duration, and then it calculates all the other information from that. So in terms of duration of the event, you can see that my Garmin recorded 8 hours and 18 minutes of activity, and that was manually started and stopped. And the Whoop band actually recorded 8 hours and 19 minutes. So pretty close. It was pretty much within 10 seconds, the Whoop band picked up the activity accurately, and I'm impressed by that. Now, if we take a look at some of the heart rate data, on the Garmin, I had an average heart rate of 147 beats per minute. And on the Whoop band, I had an average heart rate of 145 beats per minute. So they're pretty close there. In terms of max heart rate, I had 177 on the Garmin and 175 on the Whoop band. And again, pretty close there as well. When it comes to total calories burned, the Garmin says I burned 4,191 calories, where the Whoop says I burned 5,263 calories. So the Whoop is saying I burned a lot more calories. I don't know why, and unfortunately, I don't really have a scientific way of knowing which one's more accurate. So after that ultramarathon, I got home, I ate, I hung out with my family, and then we end up going to bed. So the Garmin shows that I go to bed at 10:28 p.m., and over on the Whoop, it shows that I go to bed at 10:11 p.m. So they're within 10 minutes of each other. I think that's pretty good. So now we're going to take a look at Sunday, which would be the day after that big hard event, that 8-hour-long ultra marathon, and see what my recovery looks like. So at a glance, you can see that my day was pretty chill. I didn't do anything crazy. I just hung around on the couch. And then later on in the evening, I ended up going food shopping for some groceries. that was about it. Now, the Garmin shows me waking up on Sunday at about 6:52 a.m. and the Whoop band shows me waking up at 7:02 a.m. So they're pretty close there. And then my heart rate data throughout the day looks pretty consistent on both. I'm not going to nitpick here. There was nothing crazy going on. I didn't go for a run. I just kind of hung out and had a pretty mellow day. Now, if we take a look at Garmin's body battery, you can see that throughout the night of the Ultramarathon, when I went to bed, there was a lot of stress going on in my body, and that's probably due to recovering. I was also tossing and turning a lot because it was pretty uncomfortable. My knees actually hurt a lot, my hips. So I had a pretty rough night of sleep. Anyways, it shows that when I wake up, my body battery is at 24, which is pretty low. And then it starts to increase even still, even though I'm awake because I'm just kind of hanging out, up to about 27, where it plateaus at about 9 a.m. And then I start to go downhill for the rest of the day. Now, the Whoop band, on the other hand, displays this information in kind of a different way. Up at the top, you see this red 5%, and that indicates that I was 5% recovered for this day. And that's probably true because I got my butt kicked the night before and I didn't have a great night of sleep. Now, if I actually click on that 5%, I can dive deeper into why I was not recovered. And you can see that my heart rate variability was down at 17 and my resting heart rate was jacked up to about 73, which is way higher than usual for me. So that's to say that I was pretty banged up, and I think I was. So I feel like a 5% recovery score makes sense here. On the other hand, Garmin gave me a 27 in terms of body battery when I woke up. By the end of the day, my Garmin body battery actually gets down to about 12. What I can do on the Whoop side of things is click this 1 week button here, and this gives me a visual graph of my recovery, strain, and sleep for the past 7 days. And I feel like this view is a little bit more helpful because it shows, yeah, on Saturday I had that hard event, that strain of 20.7, jacks up my strain way high, and then the next day my recovery is way low, and it's going to take some time before it gets back up to normal. Now that we've looked at Sunday, and both Garmin and Whoop have told me that I'm pretty banged up with a low body battery and a low recovery, let's move on to Monday to see how things improve over the next 24 hours. So again, Monday was a pretty chill day for me. I didn't go crazy. I didn't go for a run, and you can see that's reflected on both graphs on the Garmin and on the Whoop. Now, if I scroll down to the body battery on the Garmin, you can see that I charged up better this night from the previous night, up to about 50%. And then when I woke up, it actually continues to go up to 51% before plateauing and then going downhill again, all the way down to about 18% by the time I go to bed. Now, on the Whoop platform, it shows that I have a recovery of 39. So that's way improved from the 5% the day before. So that shows that I'm going in the right direction. The trajectory is going uphill. And on that night, I did have a much better night of sleep than the previous night. And you can see that's recorded here on the Whoop with a 97% sleep score, and that I got 8.5 hours of sleep, or 8 hours and 21 minutes. But I did not hit my sleep target of 8 hours and 38 minutes. That would have helped get me even closer to my recovery goal. And if we look at the recovery details a little bit more on the Whoop side of things, you can see that my heart rate variability has gone up to 27 from the previous day of 17, and that my resting heart rate has gone down to 65 from the previous day of 73. So those mean that my recovery is going in the right direction. Okay, so what do I make of all of this information? Well, it's really kind of confusing. I can't tell you for sure which one's more valuable to me. I can say both seem pretty useful in this kind of capacity. I wish I had more data to show you, but unfortunately, I'm only 1 day out from the data I'm showing you here, so we can't really go any further than this. I do think I'm going to track this over time a little bit more to see how things go and what kind of recovery metrics I get out of both platforms. But at the end of the day, I do think both the Whoop band and the Garmin body battery do have something to them. They're definitely useful for tracking your recovery cycles. And in this instance, it does show that things are actually trending in the right direction. And that's honestly how I feel. So I feel like they both kind of make sense here. All right, now let's talk about the other considerations between these two devices if you're trying to decide between them. The Garmin Fenix 6 is a full-blown smartwatch. You can look at your calendar events, you can get your text messages, decline and answer phone calls, download additional apps for it, track your steps and everything right on the screen. It does a whole lot, and it's a full-blown smartwatch with a lot of capabilities. The Whoop Band 4.0 is just a band. There's no display, has no additional functionality. There's not even a GPS chip inside of here, so if you go for a run and want to record it for Strava or whatever, you're going to need to bring your phone along with you. So yeah, it doesn't do all the same stuff, that the Garmin does. Another consideration is going to be the price. The Garmin Fenix 6 at full price is about $850, which is crazy, but there are Garmins that are around 200 bucks that do have the body battery feature and will give you the same kind of information. Now the Whoop Band 4.0 is free, but you have to pay $30 a month forever, basically. The Whoop Band is a subscription-based model. You never really own it. You kind of pay forever to get this information. So that's kind of up to you. Do you want to have a big upfront cost like a Garmin, or do you want to pay forever with the Whoop Band 4.0? Anyways, I know this was a long-winded video and I don't really have a straight up conclusion as to which one's better or more accurate. I just want to share my findings with you in real time as I go through this data from my ultramarathon, leading up to it, the actual event, and then the day after to see what my body did and how recovery is going. I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Again, if you're interested in either one of these devices, I'll have them linked in the description down below. And yeah, comment down below and let me know which one you think is more valuable, the Garmin or the Whoop Band, when it comes to tracking your recovery over time. Let me know in the comments down below. I definitely want to hear from you. That's all I've got for this one. I hope you found this video helpful, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.